Nana, after second wave, again I am going to start classes for intermediate second year students. Before that, I want to clarify once again. You have not written 10th class public exam. You have not written intermediate first year exam, and you are in a sort of idea that again this time also corona may grow, which may eventually will favor you, like examination postpone or examination cancel. But it is entirely wrong, because government is planning to give vaccination to children also, most probably in the month of January to March, which eventually will result in conduction of exam in 100% sure. Once children are, you can say, when students are vaccinated, government have every chance to conduct exam. So you all prepare for the exam right from today onwards. At the same time, what I want to ask you is that you request your teachers or your principal to give intermediate textbook, whether it is a new textbook or your seniors textbook, because already intermediate exams has been cancelled. So that second year textbooks for your seniors most probably will not be useful. So you collect through your teachers or principal, so that from today onwards you will listen the class, at the same time will have your textbook with your hand. For that you have to do one thing, you request your teachers and principal to provide at least old textbooks from your seniors, so that you can follow the lesson right from the day itself. Honorable Commissioner Sir has given some topics to deal to various teachers, various topics, in such that I have given, Sir has given allotted a topic, mechanism of breathing, which is in the page number second year 26. Mechanism of breathing. Let's go. Breathing means maximizing gaseous exchange process. Breathing is nothing but maximizing the process of gaseous exchange. For that, the lungs will play a key role. The muscles which are around the lungs, say for example, diaphragm muscles, intercostal muscles, which are called external intercostal muscles, or you can say internal intercostal muscles. The different muscles are helping this gaseous exchange indirectly and helping lungs. So gaseous exchange takes place in two processes. One is inspiration, second one is expiration. Gaseous exchange always accompanied by differentiation of pressure and concentration gradient. Number one, we will start. During inspiration, the diaphragm muscle will contract such a way that the dome-shaped diaphragm wall flattens. Dome-shaped diaphragm wall flattens, thereby the volume is being increased in such a way that anterior, posterior wise. So listen, our body, anterior side our head is there, posterior our legs, this is back side dorsal, front side ventral side. This is dorsal side, front ventral side. Now the question is that important MCET bit like that. Number one, the contraction of dorsoventral muscles, is it right, will increase the thoracic cavity in anterior posterior direction. Second thing, again there is a muscle, that is external intercostal muscles. External intercostal muscles. The contraction of external intercostal muscles will enhance the thoracic cavity so that the pressure of air inside the lungs is reduced, so the air from outside rushes into the lungs. Two things. Again I am saying that. Number one, diaphragm muscles, when it contracts, the space of the lungs increases, the thoracic cavity increases in anterior posterior direction, whereas the external intercostal muscles, when it contracts, okay, the thoracic chamber size increases in a dorsoventral position. So, here one more thing I want to clarify. Inspiration is an active process where it consumes energy, whereas expiration is a passive process where energy is not consumed, it is done automatically. Number one, here during inspiration, what happens? Due to contraction of diaphragm muscles and external intercostal muscle contraction, the size of the thoracic cavity increases, which helps lungs. You can say due to increase of thoracic cavity, there will be decrease in the pressure of air inside the lungs. You can say intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure will be reduced during inspiration due to contraction of diaphragm muscles and external intercostal muscles. Okay. Next, second concept. During expiration, same thing, just quite opposite like that. Diaphragm muscles relaxes, external intercostal muscle relaxes. Thereby, the volume of thoracic chamber will be reduced. As a result, pressure will be increased. As a result, the air from the lungs moves outside. These two things. Here you can clearly see, during inspiration the size of the thoracic chamber is little bit bigger, whereas during expiration the thoracic chamber cavity has been reduced. Isn't it? These are the two things you can observe during inspiration and expiration. One more thing is that for a forceful expiration, generally we never bother about inspiration, expiration. We will be very busy about our activity, or you can say during our sleep also we never bother about respiration because it is an involuntary action. Sometimes with our conscious, if we forcefully expire our air from inside to the outside, that is forced expiration. That is force expansion by your conscious using energy. You are making the air which is present inside the lungs to move outside. That is forced expiration, during which air will be moving from lungs to the outside, not entire air. That will be dealt in the next topic. Number 1. For a forceful expiration, contraction of intercostal muscles will function. For a forceful expiration of air from the lungs into the outside, the intercostal muscles, that is internal intercostal muscles, that is internal intercostal muscles will play a key role for a forced expiration. Now, the question is that, second question. Generally, we will inhale air nearly 12 to 16 times per minute. The amount of air we inhale or exhale will be calculated with a device called spirometer. Spirometer is a device by which we can calculate the amount of air which we are inhaling or exhaling. That is the spirometer. Now, coming to the different terminology regarding the amount of air which we inhale or outside. Before that, let me clarify one more question. How can we measure air which is present in our lungs? How much inhale we are taking in? How much air we are sending out? How can we measure air which is present in our lungs? That is, most of the students generally will ask. The answer is simple. If you take a syringe, in a syringe, you will see piston. So as long as this piston moves downwards, the liquid which is present will be coming outside. This is clear. If we connect this big size container, say for example, if a container is prepared similar to that of a syringe, to the type of syringe, if we connect a pipe and blow air with our mouth, what happens? This piston generally will move upwards, so that we can measure the amount of air which we exhaled. So let me clarify one more time. Like a syringe, if we prepare a small container in such a way that see here you are using a plastic pipe, in that you are blowing air. So depending upon the quantity of air, the lid which is present here inside the syringe like that will move to the top, which ultimately indicates how much air you are blown. Like that, generally the devices are planned to measure the amount of air you are inhaling or exhaling in the spirometer device. Okay, leave it. Now the question is that respiratory volumes and capacities are there. In that, what is the tidal volume? Tidal volume is the amount of air which we generally inhale and exhale during sleeping hours or during where we don't concentrate on breathing. So this is a normal. Tidal volume is simply one more I can say during sleeping or when we don't bother about breathing, the amount of air which we inhale one time, that inhaled air will be how much is 500. So during a normal inspiration or an expiration, the amount of air coming inside or outside will be more or less 500 ml. Second, coming to the inspiratory reserve volume. Inspiratory reserve volume is nothing but it is a maximum. Maximum means in addition to tidal volume, with your energy, with your capacity, you are inhaling air. You are inhaling air. That air is the inspiratory reserve volume, which probably will be 2.5 to 3.0 liters, or you can say 2.5 ml to 2500 ml to 3000 ml. That is the inspiratory reserve volume. Coming to the expiratory reserve volume, it is in addition to the tidal volume. With your energy, you are forcefully sending out, that is expelling air from your lungs to the outside. From your lungs to the outside, that gas will be 1000 ml to 1100 to 1100 ml. Next, residual volume. Residual volume is that with all your effort, with all your energy, the volume of air which is present in the lungs after your forcible expiration, with your energy, you are making air to move outside from the lungs to outside. With your energy, with a conscious effect, you are trying to send air from lungs to outside. After trying, the remaining air which is present in the lungs is residual volume. Now this is all the basic concepts. But when come to the clinical diagnosis, little bit terms will differ. Nothing more than that. When coming to the clinical diagnosis, the terms will differ, but concept will be similar. Say for example, number 1, inspiratory capacity. Same inspiratory capacity means the tidal volume plus forcible inspiration. Forcible inspiration is that is inspiratory capacity. Functional residue. Functional residue means the volume of air present in the lungs after a forceful expiration. Now we will come to the vital capacity, total lung capacity. So these are the important questions. You have to concentrate. Both terms appears to be similar. Vital capacity, lung capacity, both appear to be similar, but they are having different concepts. Number 1, vital capacity says that it is the amount of air which you can send out, or it is an amount of air you can take inside. That is the vital capacity. Vital capacity, one more time I want to say, vital capacity means it is the amount of air which you inspire into your lungs. Amount of air which you inspire into your lungs. which you take into your lungs, amount of air which you take, or this amount of air which you expel or send it outside, that is a vital capacity. Whereas lung capacity, total lung capacity says that it is the amount of air where you can fill it in the lungs. You can say simply in one more term, it is the amount of air where lungs can accommodate of air is called total lung capacity. See, listen, both are terms, both are different terms. For example, vital capacity says it is a capacity of you where you can throw a ball to a longer distance. It is a capacity by which you can throw a ball to a long distance. Whereas total lung capacity says whether you throw or you catch, but you are holding a ball. It is a holding of ball within your hand. That is the lung capacity. So now vital capacity is the amount of air which you can inhale or exhale by your utilization of energy with conscious effects. Whereas lung capacity is the amount of air which you can accommodate. So this is simply you can say a bag in which you are dumping rice or mangoes. So the bag accommodates 500 mangoes. The same bag can take within 2 minutes how much of gas. Like that difference will be there. The concept is that vital capacity is that amount of air, how much you can inhale in a particular time. It may be both a tidal volume and also inspiratory reserve volume, or you can say expiratory reserve volume, along with residual capacity. All together we will consider as vital capacity. Whereas total lung capacity is nothing but its amount of air by a lung can accommodate. Now we will go for a exchange of gas. So in our human body, alveoli is a primary site. Alveoli is a primary site where gas exchange takes place. Gas exchange takes place in alveoli, where oxygen is being transferred into the blood capillaries, and carbon dioxide from the blood capillaries is transferred into the lung space, that is alveoli. Alveoli is nothing but a small sac-like structure where it contains see, this is a alveoli structure. Here you can observe, here this is a blood vessel. So here endothelium layer will be there, again one basement layer will be there, and endothelium will be there. 3 layers will be there. One is blood vessel layer, one is alveolar layer. In between alveolar layer and blood vessel there will be one more layer, that is basement layer. So 3 layers will be there. Now air sac, alveoli is an air sac, a sac-like structure with a single layered epithelium, below the single layered epithelium there will be a basement membrane will be there. Below that basement membrane there will be blood capillaries which are single layered. Now the question is that exchange of gas takes place basing upon six conditions. Number 1, the exchange of gases takes place on 6 conditions. So the number one, first condition, partial pressure of the gas. Partial pressure of the gas. In partial pressure of gas is the pressure exerted by the individual gas in a mixture gas. You can say one more second. Partial pressure of a gas means pressure exerted by a individual gas in a mixture of gas. For example, in a atmospheric pressure at the sea level is 760 mm mercury. Is it right? In that, nearly 593 will be the pressure exerted by the nitrogen. Nearly 593 mm pressure will be exerted by the nitrogen. See, generally what we are saying that atmospheric pressure is 760 mm at sea level, like that we are saying. Now the atmosphere is a mixture of gases. In that mixture of gases, nitrogen individually will exert nearly 593, whereas our oxygen will exert pressure of 159 mm pressure. Now you are able to understand the partial pressure of the gas. Second, concentration gradient. Concentration gradient. As we all know that our body cells utilize oxygen for oxidation of food materials and release carbon dioxide. In such a situation, these carbon dioxide are coming to the lungs. From the lungs, it will be exhaled to the outside, which means that in the lungs, carbon dioxide concentration will be more, oxygen concentration will be also more. But in blood capillaries, the carbon dioxide concentration will be more, which will be coming out from the blood capillaries into the lungs. In lungs, oxygen concentration will be more, and that concentration of oxygen will be coming into the blood capillaries. These all together will be done by simple diffusion process only. Next, one more thing, solubility. The gas exchange also depends upon the solubility of gas. For example, the carbon dioxide solubility is 22 to 30% greater when compared to that of oxygen. The carbon dioxide solubility is more when compared to that of oxygen. Next, thickness. Here the thickness includes that the thickness of the surface layer where the gas exchange takes place. The thickness is nothing but the where the gas exchange takes place. If the thickness is more, the gas exchange will be less. If the thickness is less, gas exchange will be more. Similarly, surface area. If the surface area is more, there will be more exchange of gases. Next answer, distance. So the distance also, if the distance is lesser, the gases exchange will be more. If the distance is more, the gas exchange will be lesser. So that's about the gaseous exchange. Now you can clearly understand the page number 29 in your page. You can clearly, there you can understand the atmospheric pressure of oxygen while entering into our body. At the same time, the atmospheric pressure, the pressure of the oxygen while coming outside. You can clearly differentiate the oxygen pressure, that is here in textbook is given 104 at say 109 in 159. This is the oxygen pressure in the atmosphere. When it is in the deoxygenated, the oxygen pressure 104, whereas in the blood the oxygen pressure will be 40, whereas in blood it will be 95, whereas in tissue again it is reduced to partial pressure, that is 40. Like that the data is given. This is right. The question is that the oxygen partial pressure tend to reduce from lungs, blood and tissues. Is it right? Similarly, the carbon dioxide pressure will be also more in tissues, less run from air, it will be going out. Now the question is that there is two terms are there. One is external respiration, second one is internal respiration. See the difference. The respiration whichever takes place at the lungs level, that is between blood and lungs, is called external respiration, or you can say pulmonary respiration. Whereas the respiration whichever takes place at the blood and tissue level, or you can say blood in between blood and cells, that is internal respiration. So you can say systematic gas exchange. Okay, two types of respiration are there. One is external respiration, that is also called as pulmonary respiration, where the gas exchange takes place between lungs and blood, whereas internal respiration takes place between blood and cells, which is called as a systemic gas exchange.